Inside the Markle family breakdown. Meghan Markle, aka the Duchess of Sussex, has become the darling of the British press and a royal Cinderella story. But her American family presents a more complicated story. Vanessa Grigoriadis digs deep to uncover the untold truths that turned one of the year's biggest stories into a fractured, Kardashianified royal fairy tale. Meghan Markle will never, in all likelihood, be queen. But among the many benefits of marrying Prince Harry and becoming Duchess of Sussex is that she and Harry will have their own domain, a special relationship with the 53 Commonwealth countries, in many of which Meghan's mixed-race American background will be an asset. On her intricately planned 16-day tour of a few of these formerly colonized territories in the South Pacific, her first trip as an HRH, she ruled with her characteristic, almost magical mix of micromanagement and moments of authenticity, exhibiting the type of spontaneous human interaction with which the royals have long struggled. In Sydney, she fell to her knees to greet a wheelchair-bound 98-year-old war widow, and in New Zealand, she directed underlings to distribute petty fours to a passel of children in a town square. In Dubbo, New South Wales, she labored over a baked banana bread, then presented it to a family of fifth-generation farmers. She said if you go to someone's house, you always bring something, so she did, said the farmer's daughter, overwhelmed by the honor of eating princess bread. She said she was worried about the bananas, that she put too many bananas in it, except the Duke said there's never too many bananas. But when Meghan arrived at the University of the South Pacific, in Suva, Fiji, this perfection was pierced. She was on hand to deliver a speech about the importance of funding girls' education, her clavicle swathed in a ceremonial necklace resembling a dozen calf's feet sprouting orange and pink peonies, and she proceeded with humanizing detail and flawless diction. As a university graduate, I know the personal feeling of pride and excitement that comes with attending university, she explained, her raven tresses gently pulled back from her face. It was through scholarships, financial aid programs, and work-study where my earnings from a job on campus went directly towards my tuition that I was able to attend university, she continued. And, without question, it was worth every effort. Within a day, a dissenting voice piped up from a world away, part of what has become Meghan's own personal chorus, her American family. Her half-sister, Samantha Markle, a 53-year-old blonde with MS who is confined to a wheelchair, began tapping out tweets, soon to be converted into headlines. Insisting Dad paid for her college education, Samantha added, "I love my sister but this is ridiculous." She also called Meghan delusionally absurd. And this week, the most important voice in the chorus, Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, went on Piers Morgan's British morning TV show to complain about his daughter's ghosting of him, and to ask the Queen herself to intervene in the family squabble. Even if she's not the monarchy's most important princess, this honor goes to the assiduously pleasant Kate Middleton, one day to be queen consort. Meghan is the princess of the moment, as transformational in her way as Princess Di. She is the only female self-made millionaire in the royal family, her fortune coming from her work on Suits and on film, one of the oldest pregnant royals in a century. She's 37. And the first biracial person in a family of people who used to powder their faces to make themselves whiter. As a royal, she's not allowed to make political statements, but she's an acknowledged feminist who advocates for gay rights, and for her first charitable endeavor, she collaborated with the mostly Muslim survivors of the Grenfell fire. This soon-to-be mom to the first, known, biracial baby in the history of the monarchy represents the new and modern, all that America has given and will, if our politicians let us, continue to give to the world. She's like the 1% Gal Gadot. Even her gaffes are merely evidence that she's shaking up the royal family, which is dedicated to conservatism and self-perpetuation. When she refuses to wear nude-colored stockings to official events, as royals tend to, and goes bare-legged in the summer humidity, we cheer. When she closes her own car door, instead of waiting for a valet, it's fraught with down-to-earth, woman-of-the-people symbolism. Her public performance has been near flawless. She came from nowhere, and reinvented the way the British royal family could behave. But of course Meghan didn't come from nowhere, exactly. She came from the American hinterland, From an aspirational, peripatetic, and, yes, dysfunctional family, with whom she shares many traits, even if she sometimes seems to want to deny them. Where the British have generations of Plantagenets and Tudors, Americans have Jay Gatsby, a man who loved clothes as much as any princess. I've never seen such beautiful shirts before, and a past he liked to keep hidden. Meghan isn't Gatsby, exactly, she hasn't expunged her background. But there's something of Fitzgerald's anti-hero in Meghan's preternatural American reinvention. She comes from a family of acolytes of motivational speakers and reality shows. Tony Robbins and the Kardashians are touchstones, people who believe that the future doesn't at all have to be governed by the past. According to a Hollywood source, when her star was rising she threw herself a party at her home unofficially billed as a Sayonara Zara party and gave away the lower-priced clothes in her closet to her guests. The blow-up between Meghan and some of her biological family has been a rare fiasco for the Duchess, aided and abetted by elements that include the British tabloids' dexterity at fomenting race and class-based discord, the royal family's usual resistance to change, and the unbridled loopiness and more than occasional meanness of some Markles. Her half-sister has called Meghan the Duchess of Nonsense. It has also pointed up an essential difference between our two countries. Brits often can't escape their families, or even their class, whereas our myth is based on striking out on one's own. Beneath the performance, Meghan, reporting indicates, is a solitary, emotionally guarded perfectionist likely carrying scar tissue from her tumultuous background. The story of her biological family is a sprawling American epic, both up by the bootstraps and shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves, generations worth of new beginnings, of which Meghan's is the most spectacular. There are appearances by slaves and slave owners, cross-country journeys in pursuit of the American dream, and the eventual attainment of a middle-class Angeleno life that played out for most of her family like a stoner shaggy dog tale. Royal historians have dug deeply through the ancestry of Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, as with anyone newly incorporated into royal lineage, and located her first known ancestor, a slave born in 1830 in Jonesboro, Georgia, the setting for Gone with the Wind, named Richard Ragland. The surname most likely came from the man who enslaved him. A generation later, during Reconstruction, many Raglands lit out for Southern California. In the 1950s, Doria's parents moved from Ohio to Los Angeles, too. Her father ran an antique store, 'Twas New. Doria, gentle and loving, met Meghan's father, Tom, in L.A., though he had been raised on the East Coast. He was the youngest of 3 sons in a creative family in the small town of Newport, Pennsylvania. One of his older brothers joined the Air Force and became an international diplomat. The other is the bishop of the Eastern Orthodox Catholic Church in America, which is a church that I, as a practicing member of the Eastern Orthodox religion, was surprised never to have heard of before. At one point the church had a few hundred parishioners, though the Association of Religion Data Archives listing for the number of today's flock is blank. Tom, taciturn but light-hearted, enjoyed making practical jokes and putting on plays. After high school, he moved to the Poconos to work in theater, then to Chicago, eventually becoming a lighting designer. He married for the first time at 19, having 2 kids, Samantha and her brother, Thomas Jr., before divorcing in the early 1970s and setting out for the West Coast, Sainte Famille, to try his luck in Hollywood's big leagues. When he met Doria, he was working as the lighting director of ABC's long-running daytime soap General Hospital, on which nurses and doctors have lusty affairs while also performing heroic heart transplants. Doria, 12 years his junior, was a trainee makeup artist for the soap. The groovy couple was married at Sunset Boulevard's Self-Realization Fellowship, shrine of the Hindu guru Yogananda, located down the street from the compound of the Church of Scientology.